1.
Looks like everyone is getting into the webinar. Welcome. We'll get started in just a moment. All right, welcome to this afternoon's listening session about the American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas. My name is Shanta Reddy Alonso. I am the Director of Intergovernmental and External Affairs at the Department of the Interior. I'm delighted to be moderating this conversation today in partnership with my colleagues here at Interior, as well as the White House Council on Environmental Quality, the Department of Agriculture, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Our session will have 3 parts: an overview from the White House Council on Environmental Quality about the America the Beautiful initiative, a presentation about the goals of the Atlas, and then comments from those who have registered to speak. I'll go over the guidelines for the oral comments when we reach that section. Our session will have 3 parts. Today we have a wide range of interagency representation listening in. This listening session is one of 3 that we are hosting in January to help inform development of the American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas. With that said, I'd like to invite Matt Lee Ashley, the Chief of Staff at the White House Council on Environmental Quality, to begin with his remarks.
Thank you, Shanta, and hello, everybody. We very, very much appreciate the time you're taking to join us today. Before we jump in, I want to provide just a bit of context for this conversation. The American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas, as you all know, is part of President Biden's call to action to conserve and restore our nation's lands and waters. One of the president's first actions in office was to sign an executive order establishing America's first ever national conservation goal. It's a goal of conserving at least 30% of the nation's lands and waters by 2030. In setting this big and visionary goal, the president directed his team to do a couple things. First, he asked the agencies represented here to get a broad range of inputs from stakeholders and leaders across the country and to come back with recommendations for how to pursue this national conservation goal in the right way. And second, the president directed that we develop a way of assessing our collective progress toward this national conservation goal. Today's listening session really is focused on this second task, the development of an American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas. Let me talk for just a minute about the broader vision for conservation that the president has outlined. Over the first part of last year, we received some extraordinary input from a wide range of stakeholders that went into developing the administration's conservation vision, what we're calling the America the Beautiful initiative. What was striking about the input we received was the extent of agreement and shared values across many stakeholders, leaders, geographies, and political perspectives. There's agreement on the value of natural places in the fight against climate change, in protecting clean drinking water, and in safeguarding an abundance and diversity of wildlife. Agreement that we can and should be doing more to support and accelerate locally led conservation efforts of all kinds across the country. Agreement on the need to expand access to the outdoors and nature for all communities, and a lot of agreement on a set of principles, which we adopted as the foundation of the America the Beautiful initiative in a report we published last May. These 8 principles here are to guide all of the work that the Biden administration will do to advance conservation. Last year, in launching the America the Beautiful initiative, we also identified 6 areas of early focus for our work on conservation. These areas of focus here also reflect what we heard from the public and stakeholders and are guiding how federal agencies are prioritizing their conservation and restoration work and investments. And it really has been a busy past 12 months in getting the America the Beautiful initiative up and running and in beginning to make strides toward that ambitious 10-year goal the president articulated. Within the Biden administration, we have created the America the Beautiful Interagency Working Group, co-led by CEQ Chair Brenda Mallory, Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland, Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, and Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo. This working group is helping coordinate and advance conservation and restoration work across the government, with lots of agencies playing a big role. In the past year, you've seen USDA make big investments to support private lands conservation and enrolling more acres in the CRP program and making its programs easier to use and more responsive to the needs of farmers, ranchers, and other landowners. We've seen NOAA propose the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary off the coast of California, expand Flower Garden Bank's National Marine Sanctuary, and propose new national estuarine research reserves in Connecticut, on Lake Michigan, and in Louisiana. We've seen the Department of the Interior, together with USDA, take action to facilitate tribal coast stewardship on public lands. DOI also made major expansions of hunting and fishing access on national wildlife refuges, added new national recreation trails in 8 states, and made big investments in new parks and outdoor spaces through the Great American Outdoors Act, and is working with states and tribes to conserve big wildlife migration corridors. Of course, there is more. In restoring national monuments, the President has reaffirmed the principle that once a place is protected, it is to be protected forever. And across the country, from the Tongass National Forest in Alaska to the Everglades in Florida, we are working to conserve and restore the health of some of the nation's most important ecosystems. And we are truly, truly delighted that Congress has passed the President's bipartisan infrastructure law, which makes the largest investments in the restoration and resilience of natural systems in US history. I also have to say how exciting it is to see states, tribes, and local governments advancing their own visionary, creative conservation goals across the country. The America the Beautiful Progress Report we issued in December has lots more detail on the collaborative work accomplished over the past year on conservation. Now, of course, in addition to the work we're doing to help support locally led conservation efforts, the Interagency Working Group is also tasked with helping measure our progress along the way. So we have a subcommittee composed of some of the very best and brightest minds of the US Geological Survey, NOAA, USDA, and beyond, that is helping conceive and build an American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas. So it's my honor to now turn it over to Kevin Gallagher of the USGS, who is a co-chair of the measurement subcommittee, to talk about the development of the Atlas. Kevin?
Thank you so much, Matt, for your comments today. It's an honor and a privilege to co-chair the America the Beautiful Measurements Committee with my close colleagues, Chris Hartley from USDA and John Armour from NOAA, and have this opportunity to hear from all of you in attendance. And it's a great pleasure to work with you as well, Matt. The goal of the Atlas is to bring together the best available data to provide a widely accessible and comprehensive picture of conservation and restoration in America. We are interested in how the Atlas can help measure and track progress toward the 30% goal, yes, but we are also interested in hearing from you about the additional data and functions that the Atlas could capture to be the most useful to the public. We appreciate that America the Beautiful celebrates a continuum of conservation actions. We recognize that many uses of lands and waters can be consistent with the long-term health of the natural systems in this country, and we can contribute to efforts to advance climate resilience, safeguard biodiversity, improve equitable access to nature, and to strengthen the economy. To help develop this Atlas, we are gathering feedback from the public and engaging experts and stakeholders for insight on potential metrics, tools, data gaps, assessments, conservation classifications, and data schemas. That's a lot. In the process, we are beginning the development of, and we are seeking your input on, what we're calling a beta version of the American Conservation Stewardship Atlas, to be released by the end of 2022. The goal of the Atlas is to provide a comprehensive picture of conservation and restoration, also to track progress toward the America the Beautiful goals, and to help inform efforts that address climate change, improve biodiversity, and enhance equitable access to the outdoors and all of its benefits. The Atlas will bring together readily available authoritative data For the beta version, we will be testing and building technology that enables data integration, user interactions, a map viewer, and dashboard displays. We know the development of the Atlas will be an ongoing and iterative process to ensure we include data that represents a variety of conservation efforts. Ultimately, we hope that the Atlas will be enduring and that it will be a useful tool for the public, for land and water managers, policymakers, etc., to better support conservation, restoration, and stewardship all across America. We are requesting feedback in 3 primary areas. One area is about science and data and how we can ensure the Atlas is an authoritative and useful tool. The next area is about conservation as a continuum and how the Atlas can best reflect the diversity of work already underway. The questions in this area address what types of actions, attributes of lands and waters, and contributions toward the initiative should be considered. The last area is about how the Atlas can best reflect outcomes related to biodiversity, climate change, and equitable access. We very much welcome written feedback. This slide here contains information about how to submit your comments online. Today's feedback is also complemented by 2 additional listening sessions this month and conversations with states, counties, tribes, and other stakeholders. With that, we're really looking forward to hearing from you. I'll turn it back to Shantha, who will be facilitating the next portion of our session.
Thanks for that overview. Before we hear from registrants, I want to share a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, transcribed, and live streamed to the public. Speakers will be called upon in order of registration. Pre-registration was required for those who wish to offer verbal comments. Our technical team will be searching for speakers based on registration name, so please make sure your Zoom name corresponds with your registration. To further assist it with identifying when it's your turn, you may use the raise hand feature. Speakers will have 90 seconds to speak, and there will be a 90-second visual timer on the screen to indicate how much time remains. Before your turn to speak, the Zoom tech will prompt you to unmute. And if you are calling in by phone, please remember to use *6 to unmute. Now, before we hear, because we do want to hear from as many people as possible, we will move on to the next speaker when the timer runs out. We will not allow screen sharing. And because we want to hear all voices, we will stay on until everyone who has registered will have the opportunity to speak. Additionally, all participants have the opportunity to submit written comments through the Federal Register process. I also do want to establish a ground rule about respectful discourse. This listening session is a place for civil discourse, and we will welcome diversity of opinion and thought. We request that you remain considerate of the agency representatives and your fellow participants. Thank you again for your time today. And now, to get us started, we will move to the first in the queue, Megan Lapp.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Megan Lapp. I represent Seafreeze Shoreside and Seafreeze Limited, commercial fishing companies based in Rhode Island. I want to say that commercial fishing stakeholders are the 7th most regulated industry in the nation. We are more regulated than oil and gas extraction, more than pharmaceutical manufacturing. We're also already highly spatially regulated per the Magnuson-Stevens Act. In any 30 by 30 considerations, current regulatory areas for commercial fishing need to count towards that 30% goal, particularly when regarding U.S. commercial fisheries. These types of areas include closed areas, gear restricted areas, spawning closures, rotational management areas, deep sea coral protection zone areas, etc. The Antiquities Act should definitely not be used in the 30 by 30 process as a mechanism to designate conservation areas, particularly as it relates to fishing. The Antiquities Act does not employ science. It does not have a scientific basis or scientific thresholds, which runs contrary to the administration's executive order on scientific integrity. The Magnuson-Stevens Act, on the other hand, maintains very high and strict scientific standards and thresholds for conservation actions. So I think that it's important to include the regulatory areas established as part of that scientific process when considering the 30 by 30 goals. For example, through that scientific process, the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council has designated 38,000 square miles of the United States Atlantic EEZ as the Frank Lautenberg Deep Sea Coral Protection Area, where fishing is prohibited. This area, for example, should count towards the 30 by 30 goal. And one concern I will note in closing is that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management has cited offshore wind planning areas in this coral protection zone, which would certainly be inconsistent with coral protection and conservation goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Bella Cheney.
Aloha. My Haida name is Dathkawas. My Tlingit name is Katsawa. We live in the Tongass National Forest, Southeast Alaska. It is our home. Our community not only lives here, but is nurtured by the Tongass National Forest through the hunts that we have, the harvesting of medicine, berries, and vegetables, and each one comes in a season. And it is our way of life teaching our children how to respect themselves and those things that I mentioned above. And it helps to make each one of us stewards of our lands because it's taught to us from birth till death. And we use those resources to help each other survive through our cold months of the winter and to learn how to communicate with each other on our needs and our way of life, connecting us to the land, the ocean, and the sky. These are our way of life and the things that we do use very carefully.
And thank you so much. I apologize. We are keeping a very strict time limit to respect those who come behind and make sure we have time for everyone. Next, we'll hear from the representative from Alaska Longline Fishermen's Association.
Hi, this is Linda Benkin, Director of Alpha and a commercial fisherman. Alpha is a nonprofit organization of small-scale commercial fishermen committed to sustainable fisheries and thriving fishing communities. We focus on ocean health and thriving fisheries. We develop and advocate for triple bottom line solutions that conserve lands and waters with a commitment to local economies and social equity. In short, our organization has worked to achieve the goals of the ATB and initiative long before the initiative was formalized. We're eager to work with DOI and NOAA and other agencies to realize ATB conservation goals. In creating a conservation atlas for America, it's imperative that the agencies recognize and build on locally led conservation efforts and use as a starting place for marine conservation measures identified and supported by fishing communities. Data sources should include Western science while also incorporating stakeholder and tribe generated data and local knowledge. Above all, the process for identifying conservation areas must be bottom up, locally led, and guided by objectives specific to place, ecological function, and community health. Because climate change transcends jurisdictional boundaries, so must ATB action. Alpha strongly recommends DOI and partner organizations recognize existing conserved areas, Southeast Alaska, where trawling is banned and healthy fish.
Thank you so much. Next, we will have the representative from Continental Divide Trail Coalition. Oh, excuse me, the California Cattlemen's Foundation.
Thank you. My name is Victoria Rodriguez, and I'm the public policy advocate for the California Cattlemen's Foundation, which is a 501c3 that represents the interests of all cattle ranchers and beef producers in California. The California Cattlemen's Foundation appreciates that the department recognizes in its focus areas that ranchers are already leaders in conservation and have the potential to expand the beneficial conservation work that they already do. The foundation would like to emphasize that the existing land management and regenerative practices that ranchers use to sustainably maintain rangeland, such as grazing, should be encouraged and expanded. Grazing meets the goals of conservation laid out in the America the Beautiful initiative by providing many ecological benefits. University of California Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources research shows that cattle grazing protects native plant biodiversity by consuming non-native annual plants and preventing encroachment of woody plants. Grazing also protects native animal species biodiversity by maintaining the habitats of small animals, including a large portion of federally endangered species. Grazing also helps build climate resilience by mitigating the effects of catastrophic wildfire and sequestering carbon. The department can maximize the benefits of grazing and achieve broader conservation goals through the expansion of grazing on federally owned lands and the aggressive funding of conservation easements. Ranchers, as responsible stewards, are ready and willing to share their expertise in effective land management to help achieve the goal of 30 by 30. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Continental Divide Trail Coalition.
Hopefully you can hear me now. Good afternoon. I am Teresa Martinez. I'm the Executive Director of the Continental Divide Trail Coalition and also the Chair of the Board for the Next 100 Coalition. I'm sharing my testimony from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the homelands of the Tewa people and Hickory Apache. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments today. I am sharing my thoughts on behalf of the many communities, partners, and supporters we have across the country, including organizations we are intimately a part of, like the Next 100 Coalition. When we talk about America the Beautiful, our hope is to showcase what large landscape conservation can look like and how we get there in a just, equitable way. We are excited to think about an atlas that could highlight places like the Continental Divide Trail and the many communities, culture, and landscapes it connects, and we will share more thoughts in a detailed written submission. However, today I'd like to share that while we appreciate the opportunity to provide this public testimony, we are hopeful this is only a glimpse of the engagement occurring, because many aspects of this process today, from the virtual format to the restrictive times and dates to only having 90 seconds to share our thoughts, all work as barriers to who can be heard in this process. As you know, environmental justice depends on consistent, sustained practice of inclusive collaboration, ensuring that historically absent perspectives are not supplemental, but foundational to process and outcomes. We encourage continuing to prioritize these voices from those who stand to lose the most from environmental degradation and provide additional opportunities to gather feedback by flipping your methods to meet the public where we're at versus having us meet where you are. This will go a long way toward building a standard practice that truly becomes more equitable and creates space for all perspectives, thoughts, and ideas to be shared by all who wish to provide them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Inland Ocean Coalition.
Hi there, thanks for having me. I am Lance Kittle, the Executive Director of the Inland Ocean Coalition, based in Colorado on ancestral Ute lands. We believe the 30 by 30 Atlas is an excellent opportunity to create sustainable systems and management for our lands and waters here in the United States. Our current world faces environmental injustice and inaccessibility to nature, which is creating overused common public lands and waters and toxic environments for communities throughout the nation. Special focus should be given to prioritizing and measuring close to home conserved areas, especially within underserved communities with inequitable access to nature. We would like to see the Atlas take a more comprehensive look at not only land, but water protections as well. Our ocean is facing devastating times. Our waters are heating at an unprecedented rate, and hypoxic zones are expanding. We must not only discuss these issues, but take action as well. Our climate is facing challenges that, unless properly addressed, will continue to negatively affect our nation and planet. We envision the Atlas providing insights, answers, and hope. The Atlas should be fueled by community change and catalyzed by government funding. Most importantly, we envision an Atlas that creates the change we wish to see in the world. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And if you are on the phone, please press *6 to unmute. Okay. I'm not hearing you. Star 9 to raise your hand. And if Mary Thomas Hart is not here, we can move on to the Public Lands Council representative. Star 6 to unmute. And Star 9 to raise your hand. Okay, and then we can move on to the representative from Standing Trees, please. And not hearing anything, with a reminder to Star 6 to unmute, Star 9 to raise your hand.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, is this
Okay.
Zach Porter?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm Zach Porter in Montpelier, Vermont. Appreciate this chance to speak with you today. I'm the director of Standing Trees, an organization dedicated to protecting and restoring forests on New England's public lands. Less than 0.1% of our forests represent the complex old forest that once dominated our landscape here in New England. It's going to take a vision like 30 by 30 to restore our native ecosystems. I'm proud to share that Maine and Vermont have made commitments to 30 by 30. I'm even more proud to share that Vermont has made commitments to the quality of conservation and not just the quantity. And we must do that at the federal level too. Only permanent gap 1 and 2 protections are going to help restore those forests, to store planet warming carbon, restore biodiversity, increase climate resilience. This is the science behind the global deal for nature. We must follow the science. Only 3% of New England is in gap 1, perhaps just a percentage or 2 more in gap 2. We have a long way to go to get to 30%, but we have to start today. The Atlas needs to show existing gap 1 and 2 lands. It should also show the low-hanging fruit, lands that could be easily moved to gap 1 and 2, like our roadless lands, our inventoried roadless areas on our public lands, determined by forest plan revisions, as well as those within the 2001 roadless rule. I appreciate the chance to visit with you today and look forward to seeing the Atlas when it's released.
Thank you. And next we have a representative from Hispanic Access Foundation. If you are on the phone, press Star 9 to raise your hand. And Star 6 to unmute. All right, we'll move along to California Environment Voters, please.
Hello, my name is Erin McCall, and I'm from the California Environmental Voters. In order to meet the goal of conserving millions of acres of land and waters in our state, there must be significant investment in funding private, local, state, and federal land to expand acquisition in fee of permanent easements of lands and waters and conservation. In addition, if the Biden administration wishes to conserve and restore our nation's lands and waters from the worst impacts of climate change, we must end devastating fossil fuel extraction, including new oil and gas leasing and permitting. Continuing these practices are counterproductive to the biodiversity, climate, and equity goals. The Atlas should separately evaluate and measure progress towards the distinct goals of biodiversity, conservation, and equitable access to nature. These are important and worthy goals. Often nature protection and access to nature can complement one another, but the solutions to each of these challenges may look different and should be tracked separately. Equity must be woven into all aspects of 30 by 30 implementation and include equitable access to the outdoors and nature's benefits, representation, meaningful participation, and quality experiences and outcomes. California environmental voters and the rest of California are eager to work with the Biden administration to rapidly advance community-led conservation efforts in America. For the sake of our futures, we are anxious.
Thank you so much. As mentioned, we need to stick to our time limits, and we're going to move to the Campaign for Nature, please.
Good afternoon. This is Brian O'Donnell with Campaign for Nature. We're facing the dual existential crises of climate change and biodiversity loss. And conserving at least 30% of the lands and oceans in the US will be critical in addressing these crises while also providing outdoor opportunities for communities. The 30 by 30 goal is also essential in providing clean water, flood and storm protection, pollination, and other services that nature provides. To be effective, the Atlas should focus on tangible, clear, meaningful, and durable conservation. The Atlas must measure not just the amount of area conserved, but also the positive outcomes for species, habitat, nature services to people, and climate. A recent scientific paper in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution discussed the importance of including biodiversity representation indicators in area-based conservation targets. Scientists have developed the Species Protection Index as well as the Habitat Protection Index to determine if areas are truly meeting outcomes for biodiversity. These indicators should be included in the Atlas. Additionally, through this Atlas, the United States can provide global leadership in conservation. Many other nations are supporting the 30 by 30 goal. The US has world-leading scientific and academic institutions that can partner with the Atlas to provide world-class conservation metrics. The most important aspect of this Atlas is that it becomes a measure of progress, not merely an accounting exercise. Conserving 30% of our lands and oceans is essential to prevent extinctions and maintain our way of life.
Thank you. Next up, we will hear from the representative from Chevron. And if you're on the phone, please remember to hit *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. Hearing no one, we will move on to Conservation Minnesota, please.
Hello, my name is Avery Hildebrand, and I'm the Public Land and Outdoor Recreation Program Manager commenting on behalf of Conservation Minnesota. We'd like to thank the Biden administration for the America the Beautiful initiative, for setting a goal to protect 30% of our land and water by 2030, and for giving us the opportunity to speak today. First, we would like to see a Conservation and Stewardship Atlas that doesn't just count our existing public lands, but tracks and categorizes opportunities for growth to ensure that future generations have increased and more equitable access to parks and trails, natural areas, and expanded outdoor recreation opportunities. We'd also like to see that the Atlas be a usable tool for all Americans to easily find their own opportunities for getting outside and onto public lands, no matter where they are. Second, Minnesota will only be strengthened by increased protection and access to public lands with a tourism industry that already accounts for 11% of private sector jobs, $1.4 billion in wages and salaries, and contributes roughly $16 billion annually in consumer spending. Third and finally, a more robust and high-quality network of public lands throughout the state will not only benefit the recreation opportunities and business interests of all Minnesotans, but also provide strength and resilience in the face of a rapidly changing climate, protection against increased flood and rain events, relief from extreme heat, and better recharge of our groundwater. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear the representative from League of Conservation Voters.
Hi, my name is Ben Alexandra. I'm commenting on behalf of LCV. We're elated by the administration's commitment to 30 by 30. However, as we create this baseline for what's included, it's essential that this Atlas process leads to more than just an accounting exercise of what we already have. The Atlas must identify a mission gap that pushes the nation to protect millions of new acres in the next 8 years. The Atlas must prioritize 3 things. 1, equitable access and partnerships with local communities, including larger role for tribes and land management. We have to correct those environmental injustices. 2, protecting biodiversity and ecosystem stability. And 3, addressing our climate crisis. There are beautiful landscapes and waters ripe for protection to meet this goal. The Biden administration should take the important first step by designating areas like Abiquame and Cascana Range as national monuments this year, and continue to advance ocean proposals like Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. These 3 areas are large land and seascapes with enormous local support and stalwart champions for conservation. These and other conservation proposals would be great signals showing the administration is serious about accelerating the scale and pace of conservation to meet the 30 by 30 goal. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We'll hear next from New Bedford Seafood Consulting. Hello, I want to make you aware that your audio is coming through very high pitched. I'm so sorry. Is there a way you could fix the audio so we can understand what you're saying?
No, that's not any better.
No, I wonder if we can come back to you and maybe we'll go to the Natural Resources Defense Council and maybe we can come back to New Bedford Seafood Consulting.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Alan. I'm sorry, I'm hearing an echo.
No echo on our end.
Okay. My name is Allison Chase. I'm a senior policy analyst at the Natural Resources. I'm so sorry, I can't even hear.
It's coming through for us just fine. Let's see, is a representative from New Bedford Seafood Consulting back? I hope the audio might be working. Not yet. Okay, technical difficulties, folks. Maybe we should come back to both of these unless Allison, is your audio working for you now? Let's move on to Nuestra Tierra Conservation Project.
All right, I'm gonna try this way. Hopefully you can hear me.
We've been able to hear you.
I can't hear you during this. Okay. Thank you. My name is Allison Chase. I'm a senior policy analyst at the Natural Resources Defense Council. Thank you for your flexibility with this. Thank you also for the campaign and for this listening session. I'd like to share 3 recommendations with you today. The first is that the Atlas should separately evaluate and measure progress toward the initiative's goals of biodiversity conservation and equitable access to nature. Both goals are extremely important, but the solutions can be different and they should be tracked separately. Second, to meet the campaign's biodiversity and climate resilience goals, we need actions that result in significant and lasting benefits for ecosystem health. In the ocean, fully and highly protected marine areas have been proven to be the most effective at conserving biodiversity and enhancing ecosystem resilience in the face of climate change. And the third item I'd like to mention today is that Atlas criteria needs to align with science-based and international standards. So in the ocean, we recommend using IUCN's Marine Protected Area definition. We should also use the MPA guide to evaluate the level of protection and the stage of implementation for each area. There are also areas that provide strong, durable biodiversity protections, even though they weren't established as protected areas. These other effective area-based conservation measures, or OECMs, should be evaluated with IUCN and CBD criteria. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we'll hear from Nuestra Tierra Conservation Project. And if you're on the phone, please use *6 to unmute, *9 to raise your hand. And not hearing anyone there, we can go to Outdoor Recreation Roundtable.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Chris Perkins, and I'm a senior director at the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable, or a coalition of 35 national trade associations representing over 110,000 businesses in the outdoor industry. Outdoor recreation has never been more critical than it is today. The past 2 years have illustrated the important role that recreation plays in community and personal health, in conservation, in job creation, and in economic development. Outdoor recreation is how people come to care about the land, how they understand climate change, and it supports jobs in every corner of the country. The Atlas can help us harness this desire to connect to our lands and waters by ensuring and supporting sustainable and equitable recreation access for generations to come. And the solution isn't just more acreage. It's also about accessibility, about providing a diversity of recreation activities and creating opportunities for climate mitigation. The progress report provided strong recognition of the importance of equitable outdoor recreation access and its relationship to economic development, especially in communities looking to move away from extractive industries. In particular, the designation of 2.1 million acres for expanded hunting or sport fishing will provide wide benefits to communities around the United States. We appreciated the opportunity to share our America the Beautiful framework with Interior last year and are eager to convene with your leadership again soon in support of this work. We expect to see outdoor recreation well represented at the table for future planning and implementation, and recreation access preserved and enhanced. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Next up, we'll hear from Outdoors America and Land and Water Conservation Fund Coalition.
There, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm Leslie Kane, chair of the LWCF Coalition, and we see LWCF as a key tool on the front lines of conservation and recreation, and the opportunities are growing from large landscapes to park poor communities. We recently completed a mapping tool of all the past LWCF projects led by the Trust for Public Land, and we hope that will be a helpful foundational piece for the Atlas. We now have a vault of 56 years of protected public lands from inner cities to backcountry. Going forward, we're working to layer the outsized impact these investments have to every community in the country and to demonstrate its unparalleled scope and collaboration across agencies, local communities, and with private landowners. Telling the stories of the impact these projects are having on drinking water supplies, climate resilient landscapes, equitable access to parks, biodiversity, landscape connectivity, and leveraging private non-federal dollars. And these are all locally driven, cost-effective investments. Looking to the future, we're eager to work with you to capture the complete project successes as they're happening and to demonstrate their value to achieving America the Beautiful. With the deep experience we've gained through the mapping so far, we have a window into what information needs to be collected and how it can be measured to show communities what they're getting. We stand ready to work with you on this important tool, and thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thank you. I heard that we are now able to hear from Nuestra Tierra, so we're going back.
Oh, thank you very much for that. My name is Ángel Peña, Executive Director of the Nuestra Tierra Conservation Project and Vice Chair for the Next 100 Coalition. I am calling in from the stolen lands and broken treaties of the Hornado Mogollón, or down here in southern New Mexico. Public lands and waters have often been seen as a defining feature of our nation's shared heritage and character. However, throughout our history, racism, exclusion, oppression, and injustices have traditionally shaped the operations and policies of land management agencies and created barriers to access and public participation. So thank you for taking this session on. The DOI and this administration must look to historically and deliberately excluded communities to lead in protecting lands as a core part of the 30 by 30 initiative. These new national monument proposals that can be powered forward by the strategic use of the Antiquities Act have the power to recognize and acknowledge just how intertwined our public lands and the environment are with issues centered around justice or injustices and inequality. As an organization born on the border, the Nuestra Tierra Conservation Project is proud to support the use of the Antiquities Act to achieve the 30 by 30 goals and the creation of national monuments such as Castor Range and Abiquame. We too are hopeful that this is only a glimpse of the type of engagement occurring, because many aspects of this process, just like my colleague said, from the virtual format to the restrictive times and dates to only having 90 seconds to share our thoughts, are all work as real barriers. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And now we are going to, a quick friendly housekeeping reminder to please change your name so it is consistent with the name that you registered under, and use the raise hand feature to identify yourself when it's your turn. We missed a few folks because those housekeeping matters were not quite up to speed. And so we're going back to make sure we catch those who we missed. So we'll hear from the Public Lands Council next.
Thank you and good morning. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
we can.
My name is JJ Goykochia, representing the Public Lands Council organization that represents public land grazers across the country. First, I want to thank the administration, Public Lands Council, and Public Lands Ranching community. We've had an ongoing dialogue with the USDA and Department of Interior about how to most effectively catalog and account for conservation under this proposal. And we pledge to continue to work with the administration going forward to find the best path forward. I think we need to keep in mind the government already owns a significant portion of landscapes across the West, and further expansion would disincentivize involvement for many communities. Grazing should be used as a tool to improve federal existing lands rather than further federal land acquisition. The administration also needs to take a broad view of conservation so good practices are rewarded by being counted and are encouraged into the future. Our livestock grazers and producers every day make valuable and incredible investments on both private and public lands that are already considered conservation activities. And when looking at these, they need to be looked holistically as that cross between the public and the private land ownership boundary. Now, many of these investments include one-time activities such as conservation easements. You've heard some of that already this morning, and others are installation of water features that all of our wildlife are able to use. So in closing, we stand ready and able to work with you and this administration on this important proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And to help our next 10 speakers go a little bit more smoothly, what would help our team immensely would be if you could use the raise hand feature if you see your name on the list of the next 10 speakers, so that we can have you up and ready in the queue to speak when it is your turn. Thank you. I'll take a moment for people to use that raise hand feature and identify yourself. And then we will go to our next speaker, Audrey Piermann. Okay, Wild Montana, you're up. And if you're on the phone, please press *6 or *9. *9 to raise your hand. *6 to unmute. Hearing no one, we will move on to Willow Creek Ranch, please. And all right, seems like we're having the same issue with Willow Creek Ranch. If you're on the phone, *6 or *9. *9 to raise your hand. *6 to unmute. Hearing nothing, we'll move on to the Center for Western Priorities, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is actually Jen Rokala with the Center for Western Priorities. I'm the executive director, and we are based in Denver, Colorado. The Biden-Harris administration got off to a strong start when the president signed the executive order on tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad last year. We especially support the president's goal of conserving at least 30% of U.S. lands and waters by 2030. There is strong bipartisan support for protecting more public lands in the West. The last Conservation in the West poll, conducted by the State of the Rockies Project at Colorado College, showed that 84% of voters in 8 Western states support creating new national parks, national monuments, national wildlife refuges, and tribal protected areas. It also found that 77% of voters support setting a national goal of protecting 30% of lands and waters by 2030. We see that support on the ground in the grassroots efforts underway to protect special places for future generations. From Aviquame in Nevada to Castor Range in Texas, there are locally led conservation efforts in every Western state. The Conservation Atlas will be an important resource for measuring progress of conserving 30 by 30, but we encourage the administration to take immediate action in 2022, regardless of the status of the atlas. President Biden has the opportunity to establish one of the greatest conservation legacies of any US president, provided that the administration takes bold action starting now. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we'll hear from Conservation Colorado.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Bill Kickless. I'm the Public Lands Campaign Manager with Conservation Colorado. We're Colorado's largest conservation advocacy organization. I'd like to start by just applauding the Biden administration for setting this ambitious and equitable national conservation goal. It's really critical in our work to fight the climate crisis, stave off biodiversity loss, and address racial and economic inequities. And we know Colorado is going to play a really critical role in meeting this goal, but unfortunately, we're just not moving fast enough. So consider that not a single acre of public lands has been permanently protected via legislation in Colorado since 2014. That's despite the immense popularity for conservation initiatives like the Colorado Recreation Economy Act and the Colorado Wilderness Act, which combined would protect over 1 million acres of public lands in Colorado. At the state level, we're also pioneering new and creative ways to improve access to the outdoors and public lands through the Colorado Wild Pass and the Colorado Outdoor Equity Grant Program. So in developing this atlas, really encourage you to prioritize conservation and policy measures that deliver climate resilience and mitigation outcomes, combined with a special focus on measuring close to home conserved areas adjacent to historically underserved communities. But regardless of the status of the atlas, we need to move forward more expeditiously. The actions taken by this administration over the next year will determine if we meet this goal. From devastating wildfires, debris flows, and rockfall, drought, like everywhere, we're feeling the impacts of climate change here in Colorado, which is why we're working diligently to pass these locally driven conservation initiatives to meet the 30 by 30 goal. As always, Coloradans are prepared and eager to work with the administration to advance the next set of community-led conservation efforts. And with that, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Environment America.
Oh, here we go. Hi, my name is Ellen Montgomery, and I'm the Public Lands Campaign Director for Environment America. We work to promote environmental values such as clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean energy to power our lives. Every minute, 2 football fields worth of the country's natural lands are lost. We have work to do to achieve 30% by 2030. So thank you for taking this step. We need more and bigger wildlife refuges, parks, and monuments, and we must manage as much public land as possible under the USGS surveys GAP codes 1 and 2 criteria, which means managing for biodiversity. And the atlas should show which land is managed as GAP 1 and GAP 2. We must create stronger protections for land that is already public and be able to measure which lands with potential to be more protected have then been given stronger safeguards. And just a few examples of stronger safeguards could be 1, protecting the older and mature trees in our federal forests that are so important for habitat and absorbing carbon. 2, adding land currently managed by the BLM to existing wildlife refuges to create more habitat for the species they protect. And 3, converting national recreation areas like the Delaware Water Gap to national parks. Protecting the lands around us speaks to our values that we want beauty and richness in our lives. If we act now and act quickly, we can have a world with more nature. Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is Illinois Environmental Council.
Hello, my name is Elliot Clay. I'm the State Programs Director for Illinois Environmental Council. Firstly, thank you all for having us speak today. We applaud the department and all the partners for coming up with this atlas. The Illinois Environmental Council and our partners wanted to use this opportunity to highlight why the Prairie State is a unique part of the puzzle. Over 70% of our state is currently in agricultural production, with less than 5% in a state of permanent environmental protection. While we are actively trying to increase the amount of acres that are protected, we think it would be naive to not include agriculture as part of the equation when this atlas is being developed. The potential benefits of carbon sequestration, the retention of nutrients in our soil, and the diversification of commodities and the growing of local food economies are just a small list of ways in which we can assist in negating our carbon footprint. As the atlas is developed, we would ask the department to include regenerative agricultural practices as a measure of the current state of conservation and begin to envision how the farming economy can be further utilized in decreasing greenhouse gas emissions. In addition, this mapping exercise could also provide vital data to protect communities of color that are involved in the agricultural industry. Examining racial disparity in conservation and agriculture will give states important information to improve their programs, as well as improve health and economic conditions in environmental justice communities. Again, thank you all so much for giving us the opportunity to speak, and we look forward to see what happens with all this.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Montana Public Lands Council.
Yes, this is Vicki Olsen. I'm representing the Montana Public Lands Council. I'm also a rancher. And first and foremost, I think that we need to recognize that we need a baseline for this conservation. There's a lot of conservation that is already done or being done on the land, and grazing on the federal lands is one of them. Good management is good for not only controlling wildfire, it's good for wildlife, ecosystems, and the communities. BLM and Forest Service lands should already be considered conserved. Permittees are also private landowners, and we are doing conservation every day, and that is what we do and have been for a very long time. The good condition of the federal lands is proof of that. And protecting private land properties and private property rights is of the utmost importance in this endeavor. And I think in order for this to work, the people on the land have to be at the table, or because we are the present leaders of conservation. And this should be a wide view with a wide lens, so that the good practices that are already on the ground are rewarded and counted. There is a lot of state, federal, and local programs that provide a wide variety of conservation. Habitat recovery and fuel treatments are two of the first that I think of.
Thank you. Thank you. We're at time, and we're going to move on to the Native Voters Alliance of Nevada, please.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Taylor Patterson, the Executive Director of Native Voters Alliance Nevada. I'll keep it pretty short because I just want to echo the sentiments of a lot of my fellow conservationists from this morning. I just want to echo the sentiment that this should be a bottom-up process with the Atlas and with the America the Beautiful initiative, really utilizing all of the stakeholders from grassroots communities and highlighting things that are already happening within our Indigenous communities as well. As the First Nations of this country, it's important to really take into account the movements and the places that are sacred to our tribal people. As mentioned by a lot of people earlier, the Ave Kwame National Monument, or proposed national monument, I should say, is one of those initiatives that could really help our 30 by 30 goal be reached, as well as a lot of other Native-led conservation movements currently. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Nebraska Conservation Voters.
Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Gangwish. I'm the program director at Nebraska Conservation Voters. Across the country, we are facing extraordinary challenges. Locally, historic flooding, droughts, bomb cyclones, and record high and low temperatures pose a risk to our community's health, safety, and resilience. The American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas should prioritize conservation measures that build community resilience while conserving native species and lands. In Nebraska, over 97% of our land is privately owned. Here, in many states similar to ours, private landowners will play a vital role in the development and implementation of any new conservation goals and initiatives. A strong relationship between not only the private landowners, but the local governments and leaders will be of the utmost importance. We are encouraged to see this administration recognize the importance of landowners' roles in meeting specific targets and goals, and we would continue to stress the importance of making those stakeholder groups a key partner in the development of any future initiatives. Future generations are counting on us to take action, and we're excited to see how this administration continues to move the needle on important conservation issues.
Thank you. And next, we will hear from Nevada Conservation League. And if you are on the phone, press *6 to unmute or raise your hand with the *9 button. Okay, and I'm told that our speaker from Hispanic Access Foundation has overcome their tech issues and is ready to speak now. If we can go back.
Yes, how are you guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Awesome. Hello, my name is Pastor Juan Rosas. I'm here representing Hispanic Access Foundation's Por la Creación Faith-Based Alliance. Por la Creación is a strong supporter of America the Beautiful and has been conducting conservation with Latino faith leaders across the country to learn their priorities for it. Here's some of what we have heard, and I quote, "Conservation is a biblical mandate from God. As faith leaders, we believe God and his creation were given to us from the wisdom from our ancestors to steward, to conserve, to protect the land, seas, and all living creatures." I quote, "We are part of God's ecosystem. Respecting and caring for the environment are opportunities to celebrate God's creation." I quote, "We cannot have an abundant life and a healthy economy in a sick environment." And I quote, "We invite decision makers to immerse themselves in our communities and hear from the community directly, to experience what we have experienced and see the beauty and the damage to our environment from our perspective. Take a walk with us and explore the areas we call home." We will be sharing these reflections and more with the administration in the coming weeks. We believe now is the time to act to protect God's creation, and we are eager to work with you as the Atlas is developed. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. We'll now take a look at our list of next 10 speakers. And if you see yourself on that list, please use the raise hand feature to identify yourself. And we will hear next from Kathy Moser.
Hi, it's Kathy Moser here. I'm the Chief Conservation Officer for the Open Space Institute. We're a regional land trust from Maine to Florida. And based in New York, we have a very supportive state government under Governor Hochul and our legislature to support the America the Beautiful and the 30 by 30 initiative. In New York, we have a $4 billion bond act that is going to be on the ballot, so we'll have state funding to match any federal money that comes in. One area that all of you at the federal level can help us with is we have probably an opposite problem here in New York. We have a lot of legislators. We're trying to pass 30 by 30 legislation in New York, and we have some legislators who think that only publicly owned land, so no conservation easements, no agricultural easements, no grazing land, should be able to count for this initiative. And so the more education that we can do about the importance of working lands to conservation will certainly help us here in New York support the federal initiative. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Patagonia.
Good afternoon. My name is Megan Wolf. I'm with outdoor retailer Patagonia. With over 2,000 employees based in the US, Patagonia supports the Biden-Harris administration's approach to protecting and conserving 30% of lands and waters by 2030. I'd like to speak to the conservation opportunities within our public and tribal lands, and we ask that the Atlas prioritize conservation measures within these lands. We strongly support efforts to increase these protections in pursuit of the 30 by 30 goal, including creating new and expanding current wildlife refuges and national monuments, such as the proposed Abiquame National Monument in my home state of Nevada and the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary near Patagonia's headquarters in California. It's critical to consider that tribal lands remain largely ecologically intact, and both the proposed Abiquame Monument and the Chumash Heritage Sanctuary are tribally led efforts. We urge the administration to work in partnership with tribal nations to determine how best to capture the ecological integrity and value of these landscapes in the Atlas. Protecting nature is one of the most cost-effective strategies in the fight to slow global warming and the environmental injustices our communities face as a result. That's the huge opportunity of 30 by 30. It can and needs to include more access to green spaces within our urban areas, coupled with the protection of larger landscapes and river miles in and around our communities. Patagonia is prepared and eager to work with the Biden administration to rapidly advance community-led conservation efforts in America for people and for planet. We thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Sacha Mama. And if you're on the phone, press *9 to raise your hand so our facilitators can see you and prompt you to unmute. And hearing nothing, we will move to Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance.
Hi, this is Stephen Block, and I'm the legal director for the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance in Salt Lake City. SUA is Utah's largest public lands conservation organization and focuses its work on the protection of the state's remarkable red rock landscapes. So with regard to the Atlas, we strongly encourage that the BLM include what are known as agency identified lands with wilderness characteristics as a part of the baseline information. These are lands that the BLM itself acknowledges are largely undisturbed and thus provide critical ecological functions such as fixing carbon, retaining moisture, and providing habitat to native species. In many instances, these lands are not currently being managed to protect those values, and as a result, they may be lost or degraded, so much so that those services are no longer provided. And by identifying BLM identified lands with wilderness characteristics in the Atlas, the government will be able to determine whether its land management decisions are conserving and enhancing these values. In addition, the BLM is also aware that citizen groups across the West have identified additional lands as having these same wilderness values and offering these same ecological services. We encourage the government to incorporate this currently known information into the Atlas and to solicit more of it from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Frontera Land Alliance.
Hi, my name is Janae Renault Field, and I'm the Executive Director of the Frontera Land Alliance, an accredited land trust working to protect natural areas, working farms and ranches, water and wildlife in West Texas and Southern New Mexico region of the Chihuahuan Desert. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the importance of this administration's 30 by 30 initiative. While the need for high-level long-term planning is critical to providing equitable protections for our public lands, there are places that are ready for immediate preservation for future generations, specifically in places driven by local efforts. In El Paso, Texas, my community has been working for more than 50 years to protect Castner Range with no opposition. The permanent protection of Castner Range by President Biden would benefit marginalized communities who disproportionately bear the brunt of climate impacts and traditionally have less access to nature. A national monument designation would forever protect the land's cultural, historical, scientific, and environmental attributes and preserve the fragile lands now surrounded on three sides by development. The time is to act now. The Biden-Harris administration over the next year will determine if the United States meets its conservation goals. It's imperative that the administration takes ambitious action. An easy step is to protect Castner Range and declare the area national monument. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Mountain Pact.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Hi, all. I'm Anna Peterson, Director of the Mountain Pact, and I work with county commissioners, mayors, and council members from over 80 Western communities. Thank you so much for your commitment to the America the Beautiful initiative. Protected public lands are an integral part of the fabric of our communities and a major driver of our economies. Local elected officials are finding creative solutions to the many challenges that come with increasing popularity of our public lands, our growing infrastructure needs, lack of access to parks and open space by historically underserved communities, as well as the devastating and expensive impacts of climate change. The Atlas will be a critical tool to help local governments and communities accomplish their conservation goal to meet these challenges, but these challenges are also extremely urgent. We urge the administration to take immediate action to conserve at-risk areas. Recommendations from local elected officials on how best to address these impacts include use the Antiquities Act to designate more national monuments, reform the federal oil and gas leasing program, increase federal funding to manage overrun public lands, streamline processes and increase federal agency staffing, and increase consultation with local elected officials. Community leaders are already doing so much with so little and are taking strong action locally. They desperately need urgent federal action to collaborate with what they're implementing, as well as to rapidly support efforts that communities don't have the resources to take on themselves. And we hope that Atlas can be one way to help. Thanks so much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Trust for Public Land.
Hello, my name is Mike Bybee with the Trust for Public Land. For more than 50 years, TPL has worked to protect land for people, and we're grateful that the Biden-Harris administration has recognized the urgent need for action. We're thankful for the opportunity to provide input today. TPL believes that within the America the Beautiful framework, we must prioritize the acute need for equitable access to nature, to close the nature gap within historically underserved communities. Today, over 100 million people in the United States, including 28 million children, do not have a quality park or green space within a 10-minute walk of their homes. We believe the solution to closing the nature gap is to create new, high-quality parks and green spaces for all Americans to enjoy the outdoors, regardless of where they live or the size of their bank accounts. And we believe that the Atlas can be the tool to help identify areas of greatest need and areas of the greatest potential impact. Most importantly, we believe that the Atlas must do more than just provide a snapshot of existing conservation measures and designations. The Atlas could be a powerful analytical tool to inform conservation decisions and prioritize federal funding in order to achieve the America the Beautiful goals and the goals of the President's Justice 40 initiative. Building on TPL's 10-minute walk methodology and utilizing GIS data layers together with demographic and social data, we can better target limited resources to improve the effectiveness of all of our conservation efforts. The Atlas is the tool that can achieve this. The Trust for Public Land is working hard to develop locally driven conservation initiatives, and we're grateful for this opportunity. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from the Virginia League of Conservation Voters.
I'm Deputy Director at the Virginia League of Conservation Voters. Thank you for the opportunity to express our support for this initiative. I'm happy to report we've been doing our part to implement this effort here in Virginia. Over the past 4 years, we've permanently protected more than 120,000 acres of lands with high conservation value and awarded more than $21.5 million in land conservation funding and grants through the Virginia Land Conservation Fund. An estimated 16% of Virginia's lands are now permanently protected. Long-term Conserve Virginia, our data-driven land conservation strategy, has identified nearly 8 million additional acres of priority lands for future conservation that will protect water quality, increase access to the outdoors, and permanently protect scenic and culturally significant land resources. We're now working to help ensure we follow through on the strategy with the necessary dedicated funding and resources to ensure Virginia meets and exceeds its obligations under 30 by 30. We also know that safeguarding land and water has real tangible impacts that protect communities and improve quality of life. Imperative to any successful long-term national strategy is ensuring we are increasing equitable access to nature and outdoor recreation, also safeguarding the natural systems that make frontline communities more resilient to the growing impacts of climate change. Whether that be natural buffers along our coast or preserving more tree canopy and green space in urban centers that are warming at an alarming rate. Thank you again for this opportunity. We look forward to continuing to do our part here in Virginia.
Thanks. Next, we will hear from Western Spirit Cycling.
Hi, everyone. Western Spirit Cycling works with a nonprofit called Public Land Solutions. Public Land Solutions works across the country with communities utilizing outdoor recreation as part of their economic development strategies as they work to transition from resource extraction. Two major economic trends are converging: growth in remote work and demand for outdoor access. Lands in their natural state bring high quality of life, which is attracting both visitors and business investment. Acreage that houses recreation assets like trail systems, climbing areas, and water access are all part of the America the Beautiful continuum. These places near both rural and urban communities merit specific efforts to increase their protections and invest in their restoration to meet our climate, economic, and equitable access goals. Work on the Atlas should include a process to identify current and potential recreation assets of all types, exploring existing and new protection and restoration tools. Public Land Solutions is currently conducting roundtable discussions with a variety of communities to explore recreation assets that are functioning well, both in terms of serving as economic drivers and as healthy ecosystems, regardless of ownership. We are also looking at places that are being loved to death and need more attention, protections, and restoration. We expect to identify both best practices and potential solutions to challenging trends. Many of the needs we are seeing could be addressed in the short term, meaning this year, and would show real progress towards the America the Beautiful goals. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And we'll hear next from AT&T. And if you're on the phone, please use *9 to raise your hand. *6 to unmute.
I see a Chris Weaver on the participant list, but it's muted. His mic is muted.
And your audio is very dim right now. It's hard to hear you. I know he was just here. Hopefully he'll come back. Okay, so while we see if he can fix that problem, we can maybe go take a look at the next 10 speakers who are in the queue. If you are in the queue, please raise your hand to identify yourself so that it is easy for our team to unmute you and call on you. And I'm going to invite my colleague to facilitate these next 10. So take it away.
Great, thank you, Shanta. You all of you who are on the calls today, visiting via Zoom, you're doing a great job. Okay, it's been wonderful listening so far, and I'm going to facilitate for a few speakers. Remember, if you're on the phone, *6 to unmute yourself, *9 to raise your hand. If you're not, if you're on Zoom, please, if you're in the list of one of the speakers here, 41 through 50, please raise your hand. That'll be really helpful to us. And let's go to speaker 41. Let's go to Amy Kenny. Amy, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Great.
Great. Thanks so much. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to share comments. My name's Amy Kenny, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Ocean Protection Coalition. We are in the midst of a climate and biodiversity emergency, and the pace of change is accelerating. Conservation actions are needed now to save the natural systems upon which people depend. The Atlas will be a valuable tool for sharing understanding of the current baseline of conservation and developing tools to measure progress. America the Beautiful highlights the distinct goals of nature conservation and equitable access to nature. The Atlas should separately evaluate and measure progress towards these important goals. The Atlas should ensure ocean conservation actions produce outcomes for climate, biodiversity, and expanding access to nature. Not all MPAs are created the same or produce the same benefits, and so we support the use of the science-based, globally developed and supported framework called the MPA Guide to provide a clearer understanding of conservation outcomes. The Atlas should evaluate the level of protection and stage of establishment for each MPA. The Atlas should account for regional representation of conservation in the ocean, and the MPA inventory managed by NOAA's MPA Center provides a valuable starting point for the Atlas. Finally, the time to act is now, and the administration can take ambitious conservation actions in 2022 while it tracks progress through the Atlas. We are prepared and eager to work with the administration to advance community-led efforts across America. Thank you for your leadership and the time today.
Thank you for those comments. Okay, next we have Kathy Day from the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. Kathy, welcome.
Hi, this is actually Jesse Womack from the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. Kathy couldn't make it. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I want to start by addressing sort of the comments made about the CRP program made at the top and the kind of robust sign up that we saw recently. While it's really positive to see a lot of acres go into that program, we also know that this most recent sign up had one of the lowest environmental benefit index scores on average per applicant in the program's history. So I want to reiterate the concerns that a few of the other speakers today have already mentioned, that as we're working towards 30 by 30 goals, we really need to focus on quality of land preserved over quantity and not race to put just big numbers on the board for the sake of having them. Continuing on that thought of quality over quantity, we would really love to see appropriate attention in the American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas paid to some of the most high quality agricultural systems that exist in this country, those that maximize biodiversity, integrate livestock with crop production, and focus on perenniality, things like management intensive grazing efforts, agroforestry efforts, and other similar systems. We believe that these create benefits similar to preserved land, and that should be recorded in the Atlas as it comes online. Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you, Kathy. Okay, our next speaker, Max, doesn't appear to be on the list. Max, are you out there? Max Henkels, New Mexico Department of Agriculture. If you are on the phone, *6 to unmute. Okay, not hearing anything, we'll move on to next speaker, Ed Bowen.
Yeah, Ed Bowen. I'm here as a citizen, not as an organization. I reside in an 88 square mile watershed that's the most western terminus of the lower 48 on the Pacific coast. So 88 square mile watershed that has roughly about 40 families that live within that 88 square mile watershed that is overburdened by the federal land conservation that presently goes on in my backyard. So I'm pretty concerned, especially it is kind of interesting. You have USDA and NOAA part of this because U.S. Forest Service is a do nothing in my region. And NOAA Fisheries tends to deal with endangered species and biological opinions that don't incorporate the community. So really, when is this atlas going to address all these other factors that don't get put in here? And who are we going to measure this progress? Whose progress is going to be the measurement that was brought up? I'm concerned about best available data. Whose data is that? Is peer review even an issue anymore? And hasn't that turned into something called selective? So I'll leave you with that thought. And the biggest impact I believe this atlas is going to create for me is it's not going to represent the loss of the taxing land base in my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate your time today and your comments. Okay, next we're going to hear from Eric Reed, New England Fishery Management Council. Eric?
Good afternoon, Mr. Gallagher. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Reed, and I'm from North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I am the chairman of the New England Fisheries Management Council. This council is bound by the regulations and requirements set forth in the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act, and also by the 10 national standards in that act. These mandate an open, public, inclusive, and transparent process and NEPA analysis when considering any action. In May of 2021, the Council Coordinating Committee, the CCC, which is comprised of the leadership of all 8 regional fisheries management councils, asked the team of staff, one from each council, to compile an inventory and develop an atlas of all council conservation areas in the EEZ that are already in force. Once that is done, each individual area will be assessed using the 8 America the Beautiful principles, as well as the conservation of ocean ecosystems, biodiversity, sustainability, flexibility, science, socioeconomics, as well as food production for the American public. The findings of this group are expected in mid-May, which is far ahead of any other efforts to date. I respectfully request, I recommend, and in fact, I would insist that DOI, DOC, NOAA, and CEQ engage with the CCC, and strongly consider the findings they put forward. After all, engaging with fishers and fisheries management are one of America the Beautiful's guidelines. And thank you, and I look forward to building it out together.
Thank you very much, Eric. Next, we have Amanda Hoffman, Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources. Amanda, I see you on the participant list, and I see that your mic is muted.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I RSVP'd to make a comment in air, so I'll turn my time over to someone else.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Amanda. Okay, next we'll go to Amelia Howe, the American Alpine Club. Amelia?
Hello. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on behalf of the human-powered recreation community today. The Atlas will be useful if there is a robust collaboration across non-traditional stakeholder groups like those outlined earlier and must include human-powered recreation organizations. One of the best ways to create new advocates for conservation is through sharing recreation experiences with first-time users. While the recreation community values and advocates for large land protection packages like wilderness designations, we desire a balance of conservation strategies that offer a spectrum of protections. National monuments, close to home outdoor spaces, and other imperfect solutions warrant federal acknowledgement. A potential solution to accounting for imperfect protections is incorporating other effective area-based conservation measures, or OECMs, as a designation for the Atlas. OECMs can be defined as an area other than a protected area, which is governed and managed in ways that achieve positive and sustained long-term outcomes for the in situ conservation of biodiversity with associated ecosystem functions and services, and where applicable, other locally relevant values as well. OECMs will play an important role in enhancing equitable access to the outdoors and building a constituency of people who see the success of 30 by 30 as directly bringing tangible benefits to their communities. Another aspect to capture in the Atlas is ongoing restoration projects occurring on various landscapes. Many nonprofit and recreation groups contribute countless stewardship hours a year to restoration efforts. Having a place to self-report projects for review on the Atlas would be helpful in tracking. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our community's needs.
Thank you, Amelia. Appreciate your time as well. Okay, the next speaker is Jennifer Phelp, Conservation Law Foundation. Welcome, Jennifer. I see your microphone is still on mute, Jennifer. Okay, are you there, Jennifer? Okay, it sounds like, it looks like Jennifer's audio.
I just got the, I am here. I just got the note to unmute. Hello.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Okay, go ahead, Jennifer.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Phelp, coming to you from the New Hampshire Seacoast. I work for Conservation Law Foundation, a New England-based environmental advocacy organization, and my comments today will focus on the ocean. CLF supports the America the Beautiful initiative and its goals of addressing the climate crisis, nature loss, and disparities in access to nature. The Gulf of Maine is warming faster than most of the global ocean. Our waters are likely more susceptible to ocean acidification than scientists previously thought, and we have more overfished stocks than any other region in the country. These stressors negatively affect marine wildlife and habitats, as well as the coastal communities that depend on a healthy ocean for their livelihoods, and all Americans that enjoy the ocean. The time is now to advance a bold conservation vision, including highly and fully protecting at least 30% of our ocean by 2030. The Atlas will be an important tool to measure the progress of conservation, stewardship, and restoration efforts of the initiative. In doing so, it is imperative that the Atlas clearly and distinctly evaluates progress for the important stated goals of biodiversity conservation and equitable access to nature. Furthermore, the Atlas must clearly evaluate and track protected areas based on the level of protection and reflect that not all marine protected areas produce benefits for the ocean. New Englanders are prepared and eager to advance conservation initiatives here in the Northeast to meet the 30 by 30 challenge. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, next we have Martin LeBlanc, LBC Action. Welcome, Martin.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. I'm calling in from the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people in Seattle, Washington. LBC Action is a strategic advisory firm which works with a variety of different partners, including indigenous groups, outdoor recreation groups, and conservation groups. I want to start out by just thanking the Biden administration for taking this bold movement to make sure that our biodiversity, our climate, and all of our public lands are a focus of the administration. I really do want to give that thank you. 30 by 30 needs to make sure, especially with this atlas, that we're not just engaging with Indigenous communities, but that we are learning and growing with Indigenous communities and looking for opportunities to work with tribal governments to make sure that they are the lead and supporting the great work that 30 by 30 and America the Beautiful offers. We also need to make sure that as we grow, that we're looking at the recreation economy and working with both urban and rural communities to make sure that the economy can grow while also making sure that our public lands, our biodiversity, and especially our climate are a focus. I would end with this as an opportunity for partnership, for collaboration, for us as a community to come together, because America the Beautiful is not a bipartisan. To me, it is a nonpartisan approach, and we can use it as a way for all of our communities to grow together so we have a new generation of diverse advocates, not just for our public lands, but for all of our communities. Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you, Martin. Okay, next up we have Lander Kareth, National Audubon Society. Lander, are you there?
Hello, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lander Kareth, and I'm a National Campaigns Manager with our Public Lands team at the National Audubon Society. And the National Audubon Society is a national nonprofit conservation organization dedicated to protecting birds and the places they need using science, advocacy, education, and on-the-ground conservation. Audubon has 1.9 million members nationwide, 23 state offices, and 450 local chapters that commend the administration for pursuing efforts to conserve 30% of land, water, and ocean by 2030. Birds are important to our environment and to our people, yet many bird populations are rapidly declining. North America lost nearly 3 billion birds over the last 50 years, and Audubon Survivals by Degree report documented that 2/3 of our bird species are at risk of extinction from climate change. We recommend that the administration include data like this in addition to the work that our Migratory Bird Initiative has done within the Atlas. We think that one area this Atlas can highlight is avian migration and habitat connectivity, which has often been focused on big game migration species. And we would like to see, again, the data that our Migratory Bird Initiative has pulled together to highlight the conservation advances that we can make in looking at avian migration and habitat connectivity there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lander. Okay, our next speaker is Rebecca Rubin. And actually, she begins our next slate of 10 speakers. So we'll just take a moment to reiterate that if you see your name on this list of the next 10 speakers, please raise your hand so that we can see you in our participant list. And for those of you who are joining on the phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself, *9 to raise your hand if you're on the phone. And I will pass the facilitation baton back to Shantha.
Thank you. All right, we're ready to hear from Preserving Nature.
Great, thank you. Preserving Nature is an environmental organization that focuses on large landscape scale conservation. One of the most vital ways to conserve lands is in a manner that also helps protect other existing conservation and recreation lands like national parks and national wildlife refuges from encroachment, urbanization, development, and climate-related factors by creating conservation buffers around the existing assets wherever practicable. This not only adds new lands to the conservation inventory, but also helps protect our existing conservation assets. The Defense Department has done this extremely well through so-called encroachment management programs designed to protect its military bases and the conservation lands on those bases, engaging in conservation partnerships under the aegis of U.S. Code 2684A, Perhaps federal land managing agencies could benefit from a specific conservation partnership program and partnership authority similar to this. Thank you.
Thanks. And next up, we have a representative from the Nature Conservancy. And I see there's nobody with that name on the list. With that, we will move on to CCA California.
Hi, this is Wayne Cutto with Coastal Conservation Association of California. There seems to be so many layers of protection and conservation already in place. And there seems to be this lack of recognition for all the conservation efforts that have already been done and put in place, almost like they're a huge failure. Will the Atlas create a baseline? We have made huge strides in building sustainable practices, protecting essential habitat, and promoting equitable access to the resources through our management efforts. This Atlas is another tool in a long line of tools being developed to consolidate information and data points. We hope you'll be able to consolidate all the other efforts into a single application to help alleviate all the duplicity and redundancy in the waste of time and resources and money for those other efforts. We hope this tool can capture the differences each of the levels of government are taking in interpreting and implementing the 30 by 30 goals. As stewards of the resources, we are stuck in the middle of all the bureaucracy trying to participate in all of these efforts. We hope that the Atlas will include harmful issues that are holding us back from success of the 30 by 30 goals. Things like stormwater runoff, raw sewage releases, water and air pollution maps. These are just some of the items that will help focus the efforts. We hope that the Atlas includes what biodiversity and habitat has been identified in danger and what will or has been saved. The Atlas needs to include success and failures so that we can learn and create adaptive management opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we'll hear from the state of Utah Public Lands Policy Coordinating Office.
Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Hoyt. I'm with the Utah Public Lands Policy Coordinating Office, and we'd like to thank you for holding this listening session. Back in November, Governor Cox submitted a letter on conservation and stewardship efforts to President Biden on what the state of Utah is currently doing and what our goals are. Utah is a public land state. Approximately 2/3 of the state is either protected or actively managed in one way or another by a state or federal agency. That doesn't even take into account the private lands that are actively managed. As has been mentioned by other participants, it's important to recognize that a bottom-up approach is the best approach, that every location throughout the United States is going to have different needs, and that it's working together in a collaborative process and through good cooperation that we're able to actually achieve the goals that we all have. The Atlas is an opportunity to establish a baseline. And in order to establish a baseline, we have to agree on a definition for conservation and what that means moving forward. And by establishing that baseline through good communication with different levels of stakeholders, we are going to be able to measure progress. As has been mentioned, it can't be on an acre by acre basis. And the state of Utah is opposed to using the Antiquities Act to protect large swaths of land without cooperation and coordination with the appropriate entities. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we will hear from the representative from the Washington Department of Ecology.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. I'm just listening in today. I did not intend to provide public comment, so I'll turn that time back to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we'll hear from a representative from NatureServe.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Brien, president of NatureServe, a nonprofit that coordinates a network of biodiversity inventories known as natural heritage programs in all 50 states. NatureServe collects, analyzes, and shares detailed and standardized information on the conservation status and distribution of at-risk species, including plants, animals, pollinators, and other wildlife, as well as their habitats. These data will enable what we call precision conservation. And effective land conservation depends on understanding three things. What is at risk? How imperiled is it? And where is it found? Our work with state, local, and private sector partners demonstrates the effectiveness of a harmonized nationwide database of imperiled species and ecosystems that can build consensus, reduce conflict, and improve stewardship of biological resources and taxpayer dollars. Precision conservation relies on access to consistent information on the identification, conservation status, distribution, and trends of at-risk species and their habitats. This information is key to efficient conservation and ensures that responsible economic development and effective environmental protection. It also ensures that the federal government is making science-based decisions using the best available data and biodiversity information. Precision conservation also directly addresses 6 of the 8 principles of America the Beautiful. We applaud the work you're doing with the Atlas and to protect America's environmental infrastructure, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we will hear from Jean Brennan. And Jean, if you are on the phone, please use *9 to raise your hand or *6 to unmute. And hearing nothing, I think we'll go on to Kukuxi Fish Consulting. Is Kevin on the line? And if not, we will move on to the representative from Duke University. And reminder to press *9 if you're on the phone. And hearing nothing, we'll go on to Gulf of Mexico Coastal Ocean Observing System. The representative from there. Okay, and then we'll move on and we'll look at our next 10. Excuse me. Oh, we missed. Did we miss one? No. Okay. So next up are the next 10 speakers. If you are on this list, please raise your hand. And we can get started. And we're ready to hear from Hillary Cooper. Representing San Miguel County. Okay. And if the representative from San Miguel County is not here, I see from the participant list, we don't have anyone else on the phone. We can move on to the representative from Wild Oceans. Rob Kramer, are you here? If you are, press, well, I guess we don't have anyone on the phone, so just raise your hand. And we will move on then to the representative from BP. And is Lindy Hansen here? If not, we will move on to Marine Conservation Institute. Is Beth Pike here? And if not, we will move on to the Atlantic Group. Okay, I'm seeing from the facilitators that Beth, if we can go back one. I'm hearing that Beth is here.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't prepared to speak though. I didn't realize it was the same thing as speaking. Sorry.
Oh, okay, great.
So I cede my time.
Thanks for listening in. And I don't think we had anyone from the Atlantic group here either. Do we have the representative from Earthwise Productions here? Audrey Piermann, are you ready to speak?
Hello,
Hello.
Audrey Piermann, President of EPI. I'm so happy to reconnect with you, Chantal. And I'm encouraged by the session, and in particular, the multiple calls to focus on environmental justice. I'm very inspired by the Biden administration's 30 by 30 goal and a view of healing for all lands and waters across the nation. From my experience working in conservation, I've found that communities of color and under-resourced communities, also known as poor, are but a footnote in conservation plans. For example, there's a high degree of focus on Lake Okeechobee in Florida by the conservation groups. And, mostly, for example, the Everglades Coalition, they're looking at how the water levels in Lake Okeechobee affect the water in the Everglades. But precious little attention is paid to the people in surrounding communities, such as Belgrade and Pahokee, who are mostly Black and largely poor. The real life impacts of what happens in Lake O to them includes higher incidences of kidney stones and liver disease, amongst other complaints. Now, I wouldn't say that nobody is focused on them, but if they are, it's very muted. So I'm calling on you to pay close attention to who is typically left out, to create an opening for people to be heard. And you might also need to consider providing technical assistance so that all voices can be heard and understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we will hear from Green Info Network. Is the representative from Green Info Network on? If not, we will move on to the representative from Colorado Cattlemen's Association.
Thank you. I am current president of the Colorado Cattlemen's Association. My name is Steve Wooten. Our family multi-generational ranch has been awarded the Aldo Leopold Conservation Award for our conservation work over the past 60 years, as well as the ESAP Award, the Environmental Stewardship Award from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And I can support this program when and if it accepts previous conservation work that dates back to the 1960s moving forward today, where producers both on private and public land strive on a daily basis to continuously improve the natural resources that are under their care. And I don't just mean the native grazing resources, I mean wildlife resources, water resources, and wildlife resources. And at that point, we began to make it a holistic type project that incorporates what we've done in the past, recognizes the achievements in conservation to date, but then set standards and goals to continue to improve and get better. We all believe that producers of beef and farmers and ranchers have a role to play in environmental improvement. They've been doing it for generations and look to see that they have the opportunities to go forward. I want to take into consideration that when you ask more of agriculture producers, there has to come a point where they and their businesses can't give it up for free for forever. And so a conversation needs to come about as societal asks of greater performance, who pays for the additional effort and investment by those that are being asked for the performance. Thank you.
And with that, we will move on to Suffolk County Master Gardener, Linda McParland. Are you on? We can't see you on the attendee list if you're on. Raise your hand, please, if you are on under a different name. And seeing none, we will move on to the representative from South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, I'm seeing that there is no Christopher Stout. There is no name Christopher Stout coming up in the queue either. So if you're in under a different name, please be sure to raise your hand. Seeing none, we will go on to the representative from, actually, we will look at the next 10 speakers, and then we will go on to the representative from the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. So if you are in this next list of 10 speakers, please identify yourself by raising your hand. And I will once again pass the facilitation baton back to my colleague here. Take it away.
Thank you. So as Shanta said, please, if you're on this list, please raise your hand so we can see you quite easily in the attendee list. We look forward to hearing from you. I'll give you another moment there to figure out how to do that. I see some folks coming in. Okay, so let me ask for our first speaker, Christy Plummer. Christy from the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. Are you online and ready to present?
Hi, I am, and I'm finally up. It's fabulous. Thank you all for bearing with us as we give our comments. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm Christy Plummer, Chief Conservation Officer for the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. Our mission is to ensure all Americans have quality places to hunt and fish, and we do this in work in partnership with 61 organizations. We look forward to working on next steps for the America the Beautiful initiative and the Conservation and Stewardship Atlas. With regard to the Atlas, we believe conservation lands counted should extend beyond those defined by the USGS as GAP status 1 or 2. Hunters and anglers believe it is critical that conservation measures focus on outcomes tied to habitat function, not just levels of protection. Habitat functionality is vital. Further, we believe America the Beautiful goals and conservation actions must adhere to core scientific principles of conservation biology, including representing all native vegetation ecosystem types and successional stages, maintaining patterns and distributions of native species, maintaining and enhancing ecological function and ecosystem services, optimizing carbon sequestration, and addressing environmental change to allow for species adaptation. Finally, while conserving 30% of lands and waters by 2030 is a significant milestone, the science behind 30 by 30 tells us we must also restore another 20% of lands. Protecting 30% of lands is not enough, and ecosystem restoration must be central to strategies to address climate change. Thank you for this opportunity.
And thank you, Christy. Okay, our next speaker is Larry Dwyer. Larry, I see you. You want to unmute?
Yes. I'm here. Thank you. And
Excellent.
Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to applaud the Biden administration for recognizing that climate change is the existential threat to the planet that it is. And as such, we really must do everything possible to reduce greenhouse gases and sequester atmospheric carbon dioxide. And I think that the America the Beautiful initiative is definitely moving in that direction, and 30 by 30 is an attempt to make that happen. By the way, I should state that I am a member of multiple environmental organizations, but today I am speaking for myself as a private citizen. And so I think that the American Conservation and Stewardship Atlas will be a great tool that can be used to monitor particularly the lands that we do preserve. And one of the things that I feel strongly about is that our forest and shrublands are one of the largest sinks of carbon dioxide and really must be managed in ways that enhance that CO2 sequestration. And I'm concerned about some of the language about managing our forests, that logging will do just the opposite. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, our next speaker is Mia Anstein from Mac Outdoors. Mia?
Hello. My name is Mia Anstein, and I am an outdoor writer, which is my business, Mac Outdoors. And through everything I do, I try to encourage people to be good stewards to the outdoors. And I'm a member of a lot of different conservation organizations, some of which have presented already here today. But I'm here as a citizen. I'm a hunter, I'm an angler, I'm a cattle producer, and I want to remind you of a few things as we look at the Atlas. And one of those, first and foremost, is to always keep wildlife and their habitats, their breeding and birthing grounds in the forefront of any recreational or access areas. I urge you to continue to follow the North American model of wildlife conservation, and additionally consider an education plan or program in the future to inform the greater population that the role sportsmen play in the conservation model, and specifically educating them in the difference between preservation and conservation, and keeping a key focus on the Pittman-Robertson funds that sportsmen provide. Additionally, I'd like you to keep ag producers in mind and landowners. Please include them in the Atlas, but don't require it as a mandate for private landowners to put their land into the 30 by 30. Additionally, please look to local leadership, to state fisheries and wildlife agencies and management councils, as they're aware of what is going on in their communities, and they should have a first say in the priorities in their areas.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Rick Horton, Minnesota Forest Industries. Rick.
Thanks, Kevin. Rick Horton from Minnesota Forest Industries, and I'd like to thank Mia for pointing out the difference between conservation and preservation. Simply locking up lands and not managing them is not conservation. Nearly half of the 193 million acres of National Forest Service lands are already in congressionally designated wilderness areas or in roadless areas where resource use and development are either unlawful or severely restricted. There's no evidence that conserving land, quote unquote, by establishing reserves improves forest health, increases recreational use, or meaningfully improves carbon sequestration. However, there's ample evidence that reserved lands present a greater threat of uncontrolled wildfires, more so than well-managed forest lands. Conservation must include substantial increase in active forest management, as well as concerted efforts to meet several stage objectives identified in current forest plans. This is needed to create habitat for a suite of species that evolved with forest disturbance. Conservation of those species requires creating young forests and openings and maintaining all types of trees on the landscape. Every acre of national forest system and other federal forest lands is effectively and meaningfully conserved. In addition, currently 82.7 million acres of forest land are managed by state or county governments. Combined, these account for 43.3% of U.S. forest land base, more than enough to meet the goal of 30 by 30. Also, private lands enrolled in conservation easements should be considered conserved. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, for the next set of 5 or 6 speakers, we're showing that they're not present, but we're going to walk through and see if we're missing something. The next planned speaker is Penny Cutt from Cummins Cedarburg. Penny, are you on the line? Okay, not hearing anything. We'll call out our next planned speaker, Martha Maxwell Doyle. Are you on the line? Okay, hearing no sound. Jane Fitzgerald from the American Bird Conservancy, are you on the line? Okay, the next planned speaker was Tim Hayes from Duke Energy. Tim, are you on the line? Okay, hearing nothing and seeing nothing. Tom Sadler from the Marine Fish Conservation Network. Tom, are you on the line? Okay, wanted to make sure we provide enough time just in case someone's popping in. Next up, our next speaker, Jennifer Baez from Palm Beach County Environmental Resources Management. Jennifer, are you on the line? Okay, next up, the planned speaker was Martin Martinez Sandoval. And this is our next set of 10. So we ask that if you are still on the call and you see your name on this list, please raise your hand so that we can easily see you in the attendee list. And we do see Martin, so welcome Martin Martinez Sandoval as our next speaker. If we can go, yep.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you guys can hear me. If you guys are able to hear me.
Yes,
well,
can
thank
hear
you.
Fine.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you guys for so much for hosting this, Shanta. It's good to see you again. Last time I saw you was in San Diego. Kevin, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm here today representing por la creación Faith-Based Alliance. Somos una alianza de pastores latinos. We're an alliance of faith-based leaders, Latinos nationwide, also representing Hispanic Access, and also my church here in San Bernardino, Cornerstone Assemblies of God, where we work with young people and teach them about what the 30 by 30 is all about and how we've been able to, here in California, talk to many constituents and many people about the responsibility that we share as stakeholders, as promise keepers of God's beautiful creation. At the end of the day, this is what we're doing it for. We're doing it so that we can preserve a beautiful legacy and heritage for our kids and our kids' kids for many, many years to come. So I'm very excited about seeing what's going to come out of this. I'm really hopeful to be able to do our part as we are, our coalition is nationwide with hundreds of pastors and thousands of members, where we get to do Latino Conservation Week every July, where we take just thousands upon thousands of young people and kids to enjoy the outdoor spaces. So I'm very thankful for what's going to happen and what's going to come out of the Atlas, and then we're here to serve. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Shanta. Thank you to the USDA and NOAA, and again, President Biden, and for all the hard work you guys are doing. God bless you guys.
And thank you, Martin. Okay, our next speaker is Thomas McDonald, City of Savannah.
I'm sorry, I was just listening today. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for joining us. Okay, next up we have Robin Vora, community member. Robin, are you there? Okay, I do not see Robin on the participant list, and it looks like we don't have her. So we'll go to our next speaker, George Cunningham, Nebraska Wildlife Federation. George, are you there? Okay, hearing nothing. Next up, we have Katie Allen. Katie, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. Katie, are you there? Okay, our next planned speaker is Brian Colgate. Brian is with the Santa Barbara Fish Market. Okay, hearing nothing. Our next planned speaker, Michael Henn from the Sublette County Conservation District. Okay, and I do see our next speaker, Juan Rosas, is on the line. Juan?
Yes. How's everyone? I've already was able to give my public comment, so I thank everyone for this incredible opportunity. We're here to serve, and I can't wait to see how this atlas and all the things that we are doing to help our planet, our community, and especially the United States. Thank you so much.
And thank you. Okay, our next planned speaker is Shauna Powers, Santa Rosa Rancheria, Tashi Yogurt. Am I saying that right? Shauna, are you on the line? Okay. Our next speaker is here, Debbie Strusacker. Am I saying that right? Debbie Strusacker, Wyoming Mining Coalition. Welcome.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much. I am with the Women's Mining Coalition, not the Wyoming Mining Coalition.
Okay.
I'm a co-founder and director of the Women's Mining Coalition, and we certainly support conservation objectives, but we want to emphasize that what's done on the nation's public lands and the National Forest System lands needs to comply with the existing multiple use laws governing these lands. So the Federal Land Policy and Management Act and the Organic Act, which require a careful balancing act between conservation objectives and supplying the nation with things like timber and minerals and fiber that we need. Right now, the country is facing a mineral crisis, a mineral shortage crisis, because we have an untenable reliance on imported minerals, many of them from China and other hostile nations. Locking up lands using the Antiquities Act or other withdrawal mechanisms that put lands with important critical minerals off limits to development will threaten the country's ability to meet our clean energy objectives, because clean energy infrastructure and technology requires many, many minerals. So we urge the Biden administration to find the right balance between conservation and carefully regulated, environmentally responsible mining and other natural resource developments. And again, the Women's Mining Coalition appreciates this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
And thank you, Debbie. Okay, next up we have Charlie Mix, and I am going to pass the facilitation back to my colleague Shantha.
Thank you, Kevin. So we are in the home stretch. We will hear from those who are listed on the slide. If you see your name, please raise your hand, raise your virtual hand on the webinar. And we will go to Charlie Mix from UT Chattanooga. Are you here, Charlie Mix? And hearing and seeing nothing, we will go to the representative from Vulnerable Communities Initiative.
Yes, this is Frank Alexander with the Vulnerable Communities Initiative. My day job for decades has been as a law professor at Emory Law School, but I've recently created the VCI, the Vulnerable Communities Initiative, a nonprofit focusing on vulnerable communities in the coastal Southeast, with vulnerability being both social, economic, racial, ethnic vulnerability, and also climate change vulnerability. I am so excited about the possibility of this atlas. I think it could serve a transformative step in understanding, managing, and guiding our relationship to land as the land itself transforms in the coming years. My first comment or suggestion is for clarity on your definition of what is being mapped. What is your definition of public land? I'm assuming and hoping it involves all federal ownership, which includes interior and agriculture. If you're not including it, I encourage you to consider DOT and GSA, and to the extent permitted, DOD. I also encourage you to include in this inventory the current critical use status of the property and the identification of the managing or controlling federal agency. I encourage you to include such micro points as Bowen's work on mean high tide lines, or the definition of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor along Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from a representative from Headwaters Economics. Is the representative from Headwaters Economics here? And if not, we will move on to a representative from Global External. Okay. And hearing nothing, we will move on to Alicia Torregrosa. Alicia, are you here? And if not, we will move on to the representative from Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. Jenny Holmes, are you here? And hearing nothing, we will go on to another representative from the Colorado Cattlemen's Association.
Yes, this is Dallas May. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to say thank you for this unique opportunity to provide input to such a monumental project. I have ranched my entire life on the Great Plains of Colorado, which was the heart of the Dust Bowl era in the 1930s. There has been a constant ebb and flow of success and failure of restoring grasslands across America. Most of these grasslands are privately owned by American farmers and ranchers. They are stewards of the land and care for the qualities and its importance to wildlife and its habitat. America's grasslands provide a huge societal benefit that is usually not appreciated or compensated for in the protection of our environment. The Conservation Reserve Program has been a huge success. It's been the lifeline for many species who are in great peril because of the loss of grasslands. As we speak, CRP lands are being plowed, destroying critical habitat because of their expiring term. These lands could be funded as perpetual grassland easements, and the owners of these lands could be compensated through the 30 by 30 program. Rather than plowing these acres up again, releasing stores of carbon, they could continue as climate resilient wildlife sanctuaries, with cattle grazing being a contributing factor to their success. It is well documented that responsible cattle grazing is a benefit to the environment, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I understand that we do have at least one person who had technical difficulties earlier who is now available to make their comments. We're going to hear from Jim Kendall.
Thank you. Is my audio any better now?
Yes, 100% better.
Yes, I wore it out previously. My name is Jim Kendall, and I'm the Executive Director of the New Bedford Seafood Coalition. I'm also a member of the Massachusetts Fishermen's Partnership and several other fishing organizations here in Massachusetts. You know, the fishing industry relies and depends on a healthy resource. But at some point, we've already paid a lot of that price. We have well over 30% already dedicated to closed areas or areas of special management. If you check into the New England Fishery Management Council, as Eric Reed mentioned earlier, a lot of this has already been accomplished. However, there's one thing I don't believe has been taken into consideration, and that's the ongoing process of the offshore wind development. That is going to take up a huge portion of the resource in the ocean as we know it, particularly here on the East Coast. I have yet to hear that that's been included in that conversation. Another point I'd like to make is I heartily support the comments made by Megan Lapp of Seafreeze. She's totally on track with that. So conservation is great, but at what cost? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment and for coming back after the technical difficulties. At this point, if there are other attendees who had technical issues earlier, please raise your hand and we will circle back to you. And I see one, Thomas McDonald. Or whoever is under the Zoom name, Thomas McDonald.
You already invited me to speak, but I said I was just listening today. But
Oh,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Your virtual hand was up, so we wanted to make sure we covered it. All right. So I think we did get to everyone who, oh, Hillary Cooper. Hillary Cooper came back.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Great.
yes, yeah, now.
Thank you. My name is Hillary Cooper. I'm a San Miguel County Commissioner. I apologize for dropping off other business about early childhood education. I'm San Miguel County in Colorado. We're in the southwest corner of Colorado. We've got a local plan we call our PES program, which is a Payment for Ecosystem Services program, which pays farmers and ranchers for to implement measurable treatments to enhance wildlife habitat, healthy soils, resiliency, and carbon sequestration on their lands. We hope to expand this across Colorado. We're partnering with the state and partners at NRCS. And we hope that these programs can be considered under the 30 by 30 program to maybe create more incentives for those farmers and ranchers who are willing to implement those practices. In the state of Colorado, we implemented the Colorado Roadless Rule, and it was a statewide effort which achieved remarkable success and is still sustained today. We ask that statewide efforts be really the focus point of creating these programs. Really appreciate your focus on state and local input as we engage in these programs. It's not going to be easy. We're already hearing a lot of skepticism from our local partners, especially ranchers, et cetera. And we are here to help initiate those local efforts to get local buy-in and ownership to these programs. We need our agricultural and tribal communities to be a part of this in order to achieve success. So thank you for your efforts of reaching out, and look forward to the implementation process.
Thank you so much. And I do see that Debbie Strusacker has a hand up again. Debbie, I think we already heard from you. Just want to double check and see if you don't have somebody there sharing your computer who was in the queue and didn't get to talk earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I guess I just forgot to lower my hand. But,
Okay.
you know, just a suggestion for you is there was no way to sign up just to listen to this session. When you signed up as if you wanted to speak. So you might improve the logistics for yourself next time by tweaking that a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback. And with that, I will close us out. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention. We do invite everybody to submit written comments through the Federal Register notice as well. And we look forward to continuing to receive and review feedback for the duration of this comment period. Really appreciated the diversity of perspectives here.
Thank you, everybody.